Miami takes down the defending national champs, Ohio State, on New Year's Eve. But I got a question for you. Was it as impressive of a performance as some think? Yes, they won the game 24-14, but did the Hurricanes get lucky for the second straight game in the college football playoffs? Let me explain. Let me explain. Before we get a little deeper, let me explain what I mean, okay? Brian Hartline wasn't calling the offensive plays for Ohio State, right? Ohio State's offense didn't look the same. Julian Sain, one of the biggest things they talked about, Heisman Trophy runner-up and got fourth place votes, was like heading into this game as potentially breaking the FBS record for completion percentage. Didn't look all that great. I mean, had a pick six. Keontae Scott for Miami took a pick six back. And then on the flip side, the way Miami got there is they played against Texas A&M in the first round. Colin Klein in the same exact boat, offensive coordinator for Texas A&M. A lot of people think his mind was focused on being the new head coach at Kansas State. So you have two head coaches in transition being offensive coordinators against Miami so far in the college football playoffs. Is that something we should really pay attention to? Or did it not matter anyways because Miami's a really good football team and people aren't giving them enough attention?
Yeah, that's a really good insight there. That's a very solid point of view or stat, I guess, if you want to call it that and point that out. But boy, does Miami just look good. I mean, they just look dominant in this game. That pick six was kind of the difference maker, if you will, as we got down to those final minutes. Obviously, the no Moss situation, gave Miami the extra touchdown at the end of this game. It was more of a field goal towards the end, and obviously the pick six then would put that's a huge number of points when it's really only three that's separating the two. So, but Miami, they just looked really good, man. I don't know if I'd say lucky. I would say lucky maybe in the sense that they got in, but they can only play who's in front of them, and they have handled those two teams. Now, have they blown them out of the water? No, but they've done what they've needed to do. They've taken care of the business in front of them. And I think that they are going to be a force moving forward. I think the bigger question is Ohio State lucky that they got in? I mean, when you look at Ohio, it got into the playoffs is actually what I'm saying here. When you look at their schedule, like they put up 14 against Texas, and then they beat Grambling, Ohio, Washington, Minnesota. They did beat Illinois, Wisconsin. Okay. Penn State was in shambles at that point. Purdue, UCLA, Rutgers. They beat Michigan. Okay. I'll give them that. And then they lost Indiana and they lost Miami. These massive conferences are allowing teams to play a bunch of cupcakes and make their way into the playoff. That's the rest of my take there. I'll let you run with that, or you can just let that float off into space. But I think it's worth at least me mentioning that I don't like, and I am in the boat that I thought Ohio State was going to be good all year. Like I thought it was going to be like, defending champs, give them the benefit of the doubt until they prove us wrong. Well, they didn't have an opportunity to prove us wrong because they didn't play anybody. I'm sorry. Grambling's just not going to beat the defending champs 18 times out of 20. Like they're just not going to. So that's my only gripe with this, and that's more of a gripe with college football as a whole.
Yeah, when you think about the narratives to Ohio State, we didn't really talk about them being contested or being tested all year because they were the national champs. So we're just like, oh yeah, well they're going to be good all year. That's just a thing. They're Ohio State. But if you remember that first game against Texas, the narrative wasn't about if Ohio State was good. It was how bad Arch Manning looked. It wasn't about Ohio State. Imagine if Arch Manning, which on Texas side looked pretty good in the Cheez-It Bowl against Michigan to finish off the season. If they had that Arch Manning to start the season, Ohio State probably doesn't win that game. And then you have a completely different conversation about who the Buckeyes are heading into the college football playoffs. Obviously, the loss against Indiana, you can take that for what you will. They didn't look bad in that game. They tied the game with a kick. The kicker missed one in the game last night against Miami as well. But yeah, you're right about the schedules. These schedules get there's so many teams in these conferences that you're not playing everybody. And they didn't have Oregon on their schedule this year. They didn't have Washington on their schedule this year. Or they did play Washington. But they didn't have some of these teams that they had to face in the regular season. And they didn't have to face Indiana in the regular season. They didn't face them until the final game on the Big Ten championship, and they couldn't win this game. And somehow they still found their way as the second seed in the college football playoffs. Doesn't sound like that helped them anyways, because for the second year in a row now, every team that has got a bye has lost. They are now 0-5. All the teams that have played so far, as of right now, we see what happens in the 3 games that happened today on New Year's Day. But every team that has played with a bye heading into the college football playoffs, Ohio State didn't play for 25 days. That is insane.
That's a lot of days.
If I am a college football team, why would you want this? This is another reason why you should consider maybe going to the FCS playoff bracket or something along the lines. It just doesn't make any sense.
No, I agree with you. I think that the curse of the first round bye is real, and I would be very interested to see how it plays out over the next 3 games. Obviously, it's the first of the 4 quarterfinal games. It is worth noting that I think last year we talked about, was it the seeding? And then they changed the seeding, and now Ohio State has fallen victim to that big gap. And then everyone was like, is it rust or is it rest? So I'll be very interested to see how it plays out for the rest of these quarterfinal games, because I think they're going to be, they're going to be good games and they're going to be challenging. And I think that that's going to be, for some of these teams, a wake-up call. Like, hey, you just took 3 weeks off or more, depending, and just kind of chilling out. Like, oh, okay. Well, you better get geared up real quick, because I tell you what, Oregon not gonna be slouching around out there. They just got a warm-up game against JMU. So I will be curious to see over the next 3 if it moves to 3-5 or if it's closer to 0-8. But I'm guessing because of this 0-5 situation, there will be a change of some kind to the playoff format next year,
which is wild to think about, because Ohio State won the national championship last year, but that'll be brought. They didn't have to worry about that. They played in the first round. If the same seeding would have happened, if they didn't change it this past offseason, you would have had what? You would have had Tulane in instead of Ohio State in the first round bye, which, I mean, many people would hate. Yeah. But in the eyes of Ohio State, you'd be sitting right where Oregon is right now, is that 5 seed, losing in the Big Ten championship, unless that was given to, well, no, they wouldn't have gave it to Alabama. They would have gave it to Ohio State. They would have had the 5 seed. And
and that's the conversation, is that where you'd rather be? Because we've said Oregon was probably in the best spot right now.
Yeah. I mean, it worked last year, and we'll see what happens on New Year's Day for Oregon. I mean, it's insane. 0-5, these bye weeks continue to struggle. So now we're going to have a new national champion. That's confirmed. There's no doubt about that. There are 7 teams left as we are talking right now. Ole Miss, Georgia. You got, of course, Miami, who won this game, Oregon, Texas Tech, and then Alabama or Indiana as of this conversation. Of course, that's going to change in just a few hours when the first game starts. Can Miami, though, a team that was completely doubted heading into the college football playoffs, to maybe even not even be there? They were considered the last team to make it into the dance, which for that conversation, I think they were right. But now I'm starting to think, based on how we've seen them over the last couple of games, that it sounds like the committee actually made a right decision picking them over Notre Dame, especially when it comes to head-to-head wins. Of course, I'm always about that. But can Mario Cristobal, can Carson Beck, can this defensive line, can they do what might be considered the impossible and run the table and win the whole damn thing?
Absolutely, they can. But I want to clarify that, if Iowa State got in and won it all, would that have been the right move by the committee because they won it all? No, Iowa State did not deserve to be in the college football playoff. So I'm not saying Miami did not deserve to be in, but I want to make my position very clear that just because a team wins it all, like if Notre Dame got in and then won it all, or I'm trying to think of BYU, if they got in, I actually think they deserve to be in. But my point being, once they're in, anybody can win it. That's why there's so much tension around who's the first team left out, because it's just like the NFL playoffs. Once the playoffs start, your record's 0-0. You just play the team in front of you, you advance. It's not like what does your resume look like? Oh, you only beat Texas A&M in the first round. Are you really worthy of being a national champion? It's not like that. It's just literally win and advance, beat the team in front of you. So I absolutely, from what I've seen, this Notre Dame team, very capable. And we talked about it in our preview. The first stat that I was looking at was their run game was phenomenal last night, I felt like, against Ohio State, and won them that game, especially with their last drive. Took, I think, like a whole 5 minutes off the clock, left Ohio State right around that minute mark, which, man, that would have been electric if Ohio State made that comeback. But what I'm saying here is Miami's very, very capable, but I don't think it's linked to whether or not they got in, they were close. Like, I do think that there are more teams than ever that are capable of winning national championships. And so that conversation at 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 is going to get difficult and more challenging year over year. And I don't think you can say like, oh, they snuck in, they can't win it. Like, Miami is very much in the conversation to win this whole thing. And they were arguably like, a lot of people I think looked at them as like, okay, well, an ACC team got in, well, move on. It's going to be an SEC team or Ohio State that wins it.
Going back to my original take in here, and obviously, for the record, I don't think they got lucky. I think this defensive team is really good. I think this defensive line is really good. But the narrative behind could people see that they have got lucky? I can see that argument with the whole Heartline, Colin Klein conversation. For the sake of aging this segment, because it's going to be aged out very quickly. So for the sake of not trying to do that, of course, we don't know who wins the game between Georgia and Ole Miss. That is who they will face. One, it'd be really fun to watch Carson Beck play Georgia in the semifinals. That would be a really fun thing to do. But on the flip side, if it's Ole Miss Miami, that's right back in that same conversation of could they get lucky? Maybe it's not the offensive coordinator for conversation, but it's no Lane Kiffin. So they would go through a coaching staff that has been beat up for 3 games in a row if that was the case.
Sometimes that's just what it takes. Sometimes you get that lucky and you don't have a head coach and an OC and an OC or whatever it is. Sometimes the stars just align, man. Yeah, and I can't take that away from Miami here. If Miami goes and wins, if they get Ole Miss, they win those 3 games and they win a national title, are people going to put an asterisk next to that because college football schedule is messed up? Like, I won't. They won the games in front of them. Tell those coaches to worry about the team that's in the quarterfinals, that's in the semifinals. Like, I agree. The schedule's messed up. It 100% is. It needs to be changed. But right now it's not. And those coaches have a duty, I guess, if you will, to their team. And if they're not going to do it, that's not Miami's problem. Like, that's like blaming Miami for their opposing quarterback throwing 10 interceptions. That's not their fault.
Yeah, you're not wrong. On the flip side, Ryan Day obviously not going to win a national championship. He won one last year. Don't get him wrong. I mean, he got his Michigan win, but he didn't get the national championship. So, like, obviously, what do you take here, right?
I would love to know how Ohio State fans are feeling right now, because I had a video go out this summer about, like, would you rather beat your rival or win a natty? And actually, a lot of Ohio State fans are like, I'd rather win the natty. But you still beat Michigan this year. So, I mean, is that still a successful year? I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, you had your quarterback in the Heisman Trophy race. You beat Michigan. You don't win the national championship game, though. With you don't even get the chance to participate in it. With a team that might be considered more talented than what you had last. Will Howard wasn't in the Heisman Trophy conversation last year, right? Like, this team is, I think you could make the case that Ohio State's more talented this year than they were last year. The stars just aligned, as you mentioned, for Ohio State this last year. I mean, if you look at Ohio State, if you dig deep, you want to get a little sicko mode real quick, because I think that's the perfect time to do so. If you look at this Ohio State roster, it is loaded with kids from South Florida who did not believe in the path, the future of what Mario Cristobal was building. And could you blame them? Miami's been down and out for quite some time. And if you have an offer to go play for Ohio State, especially as they just coming off the national championship, you're probably going to do that. Jeremiah Smith, perfect example. Jeremiah Smith said in the press conference at the beginning of the game, he said he would have considered Miami if they were in a better direction. Now, it's completely different now. This Miami team, who had players from South Florida who believed in Mario Cristobal, just beat that team with a lot of South Florida kids that didn't believe in this message. What does that mean for Mario Cristobal and the rest of the Miami Hurricanes for the future? Can we dare say that Miami is back?
I think you can. I absolutely think you can, especially when you consider what the ACC is, right? Like, the ACC, I hate to be this guy. Like, I don't love saying this, but there are levels to the conferences. I think it's a lot closer than people think it is. Obviously, look at what Miami's done. Beat Texas A&M, beat Ohio State. That's an SEC and a Big Ten team right there. Like, I am not saying that the ACC is complete shite, all right? But I am saying that the ACC, just top to bottom, is not the SEC. It's not the Big Ten. And quite frankly, it's not even the Big 12. So a team like Miami, very capable, especially when you got a guy like Michael Irwin on the sidelines, amping this team up. I mean, this team is very capable. This team is very capable of just running the table over the next 5 years or so. And I've had this conversation a lot about Iowa State. Like, the more you win, the more you win. So the more the more Miami wins here, the more recruits are going to want to come. The more coaches are going to want to come. You're going to lose players for sure. Graduation, the NFL, coaches to other teams because you're winning so much, but you will bring in more talent too. So I do look out for Miami over the next 4 years or so. I think they can hold this kind of standard and be one of the top teams in the ACC, come out and compete in the college football playoff for sure.
You said the more you win, the more you win. You were very close to going John Madden on us, saying, whoever scores the most points at the end of the game usually wins. You were very
I've
close.
said that too many times.
You were very close. It was really interesting there. I think this is going to be a wild ride to see what Miami ends up being. I mean, we are seeing this defensive line. I mean, guys like Bain, we're seeing these guys prove that they are not just what Mel Kiper or some of those guys are saying of like could be good guys in the NFL. Like, no, these are legit dudes that are going to be playing on Sundays. Like, we're going to see these as top 10 draft picks easily in April. It's going to be a wild ride. I just can't believe that this is the way we started the college football playoffs, at least for the semifinals. I mean, we got it. I mean, I guess I'm not surprised. It's the second year in a row that we got these kind of upsets. I wonder how many we're going to get on New Year's Day with the final 3 games in there. I guess we were wrong about Miami.